is a better and different team.
Frankie Sullivan, a healthy Frankie Sullivan, means a lot to this ball club. He can make the jump shot, three-point jump shot, two-point jump shot. He's an outstanding defender, and he's a leader of the team.
Meantime, a year ago, Eric Ferguson, as a freshman, had a double-double against the Tigers. He's now a sophomore and an emerging star in the Southern Conference.
Well, they say he can play in any league, the ACC, the SEC. He's a leader of the ball club. He can make the mid-range jumper. He can make the three-point shot. He's a leaper, and he runs the floor well.
It's the Georgia Southern Eagles and the Auburn Tigers. Eagles at 3-7 on the season, meeting the Tigers for the 6th time ever. They have never beaten Auburn. Opening tip is coming up next. All right. Okay. Going to be an adventure tonight, I can see. Geico first.
And now, Auburn fans, on your feet. Let's get the story.
Tonight's game is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Call Geico at 1-800-947-AUTO. That's 1-800-947-AUTO, or visit geico.com. And by Regions Bank. Want more control and balance with your finances? Switch to Regions, the easier way to bank. Regions, official bank of the SEC. Welcome back to the Auburn Arena as the Auburn Tigers at 8-3 on the season play host to the Georgia Southern Eagles. The Eagles have not won on the road this year. They are 0-6 and sporting a 3-game losing streak. Let's take a look at the Regions Bank starting lineups. For the Georgia Southern Eagles, Ben Drayton, the number 2 active scoring leader in the Southern Conference. Eric Ferguson, the number 7 scorer in the SoCon, and the number 8 rebounder. Jelani Hewitt joins him in the backcourt. He's the number 3, or the top 3-point shooter in that Eagles lineup. The sophomore out of Miami-Norland, Marvin Bainham, and Willie Powers, who's 3rd in the Southern Conference in assists per game. For the Auburn Tigers, Josh Langford coming off a career-high 16 points against UTEP last week. Perez Ward, 6th in the SEC in assists per game. Frankie Sullivan, who's 3rd in the SEC in threes per game at 2.5 a game. Kenny Gabriel coming off a career-high 24 against the Miners. And Rob Chubb, who hit the game-winning basket in Auburn's victory against Hawaii, their only victory in the Hawaiian Airlines Classic tournament out, the Diamond Head Classic. Charlton C.Y. Young is the head coach of the Georgia Southern Eagles, been the head coach since 2009, record of 17-57, a star player there under the longtime head coach Frank Kearns. Was an assistant at Georgia Tech, was actually an assistant here at Auburn as well before finally getting his shot as a head coaching job. And Tony Barbie, the head coach since 2009 in his 2nd season here at Auburn, a record of 19-23. Overall, it is his 6th season as a head coach after being the right-hand man to John Calipari at Memphis. Joe Lindsay, Carl Hess, and Brian Shea, your officials working tonight's game. The Georgia Southern Eagles will start on offense. They're decked out in their blue tonight.
Auburn playing man-for-man defense, very physical man-for-man defense.
That's Willie Powers up top. Powers, the veteran point guard for this Georgia Southern team. Inside they go to Eric Ferguson. You're going to see a lot of that tonight as Ferguson scores the first basket.
Well, they go to their best player right off. He's got a variety of moves, and you just saw one of the better ones right there. A little double clutch teardrop.
Rob Chubb back to the basket. Banging in the post, and Chubb had his shot blocked, but a foul's going to be called.
I think they got goaltending on that, given the basket, I believe, Matt. And I'm going to tell you one thing. They're going to go inside to Rob Chubb. They're going to see if he can take over this game early.
Well, they were very disappointed in Chubb's performance in Hawaii after getting that game-winning basket and scoring 14 against Hawaii in the opening game. Scored only 4 points total in the next 2 games, 4 against Long Beach State, and did not score at all against UTEP. But otherwise, Chubb has been a pleasant surprise for the Tigers this season.
He's a big surprise, but inconsistency still bothers him. He's got to get to where he's a more consistent player. Some nights he has great nights of blocking shots and scoring around the hoop.
Auburn Tigers coming off an 83-76 loss to UTEP on Christmas Day.
Man-for-man defense. Georgia Southern, they get in foul trouble because they're very physical. They need to keep these starters on the floor.
Perez Ward finds a seam in the defense and takes advantage of it. Basket's going to be waved off. That's an offensive foul on Ward.
Here's a guy that needs to have a great game, needs to get his confidence up, because he could be one of the top point guards that they've had in a long time.
Ward is out of Montgomery, Alabama. Actually started his collegiate basketball career at the University of Texas.
He's playing hurt.
Yeah, suffered an injury to his quad muscle at Texas. He has not yet recovered from that. In fact, Tony Barbie telling us today at shoot-around that he is about 30% capacity in that injured quad. Shot blocked by Chubb.
This is a team that blocks a lot of shots. They're very good at it. 11 block shots in one game.
Inside to Chubb again. Put it on the floor. Gets tied up by Powers. Possession arrow pointing in favor of Auburn.
Well, they're going to go inside. This is an undersized basketball team that they're playing in Georgia Southern. So they're going to try to establish an inside game right off.
Tallest player on the floor for the Eagles, 6'7".
Yeah, and they're fine. They can score the ball, they can rebound the ball, but they get in foul trouble easily, and they don't have depth.
Drayton runs it down in the backcourt and gets the layup.
One of the better wing players or guards in the Southern Conference.
And Ben Drayton, the #2 scorer in the Southern Conference, 1,257 career points, #2 among active players, that is.
Yeah, he had 30 points against Wofford a year ago, a team that plays outstanding defense, so this guy can score the ball.
Sullivan coming off a screen. They get it to Chubb again. Pretty evident, Coach Sonny Smith, that the game plan here, as Bainham stepped out of bounds, so it'll be Auburn's ball underneath. The game plan here for the Tigers is to get the ball to Rob Chubb. 2 things.
Get it inside and also get it to the man that Ferguson is guarding. He's foul prone, and he's the guy going to score for them.
Perez Ward off the back iron. Last touch by Chubb.
This is a team that worked hard on the press today, and they're going to try to score on the press, and Auburn is getting better every time you see them on the press. They have a variety of presses. This is a one-and-done type press right here.
Well, Auburn is going to try to put pressure on them because of that right there, as Bainham throws it out of bounds. Well, this is a Georgia Southern team, Coach, that committed 26 turnovers in their last game, a 72-52 loss at Georgia State.
2 negatives for this ball club. They foul too much, they throw the ball away. When they take care of the basketball, they got 4 or 5 guys that can score the ball, man.
They've already committed 3 turnovers here in the opening 2+ minutes. But But Auburn has committed to themselves, and that was a problem for the Tigers a year ago. They built a big first-half lead on Georgia Southern as Gabriel banks it in.
Very talented young man that can do a lot of things. Can play outside, can play inside. I think as he goes, the rest of the team goes.
Earlier in the season, when we televised the game here against South Florida, that's going to be a foul on Sullivan. Tony Barbie was not at all pleased with Kenny Gabriel in that he had not hit the weight room during the offseason and did not, in his mind, come back fully prepared for his senior year. But today, talking to Tony at the shoot-around, much more pleased with what Gabriel's given him lately, particularly rebounding the ball, as Powers had a hard time getting it in and bangs it off Ward's leg.
Frankie Sullivan is a man on this ball club, but Kenny Gabriel has got to play well every night for Auburn to be good against really good teams. This is a well-coached basketball team at Georgia Southern. They run their stuff well. If they can hang on to the ball and make better passes, they're going to be tough in the Southern Conference.
Carlton Young inherited a mess of a program when he took over with some NCAA sanctions and losses of scholarships. They've been playing behind the 8 ball, and they're starting to show a glimmer, a light at the end of the tunnel, whatever cliche you want to use, as they've got some really fine sophomores on this team. Ball is stolen away by Langford, and then he loses the dribble. That's going to be a 3rd turnover on the Auburn Tigers. So it might come down to, Coach, who commits the fewest turnovers, because both these teams are committing a bunch of them here early.
Well, Auburn wants to play quick. They want to defend full court. They want up-tempo. They want transition into their offense. And right now, they're working just a little too fast, not taking care of the basketball. Setting the picks on the wing, but they don't stay with it. They usually use a second picker, and there it is with a roll and not a pop.
Ferguson working against Chubb, shoots up over him, and the rebound is controlled by Kenny Gabriel. Gabriel averaging 8.8 rebounds per game the last 6 games. Chubb inside, and Gabriel follows with an authoritative jam.
There's not many things that this young man can do. He just takes plays off. He needs to stay with it on every play, and he'd be an outstanding basketball player.
Gabriel's got 4 points, 4 of their first 6. Some rebounds and a jam, and so Gabriel picking up right where he left off against UTEP back on Christmas Day.
Well, 2 things we're seeing already, Matt, is turnovers and fouls. And this is one thing that each ball club has got to do a better job of. Staying out of foul trouble, taking care of the basketball.
Number 45, Adrian Forbes, checks into the ball game for Rod Chubb. So Auburn can replace big with big. Georgia Southern doesn't have that same luxury. Nice little teardrop from Drake, kind of a rainbow with the left hand, kind of just threw it up there. And we're tied again at 6.
Well, he attacks the rim. He's got a variety of moves, and he's a very good basketball player.
Scored 18 on 4 of 9 shooting from behind the 3-point line against this Auburn team a year ago.
They're doubling the ball screens. That's pretty much taking them out of the play because they're doubling with big on small. Anytime you got the bigs doubling on small, you got a possibility of a turnover that we had right here.
Denson was fouled by Powers, and we have our first timeout of the ball game. Opening 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Auburn and Georgia Southern tied at 6. Just getting started here at the Auburn Arena with the Tigers and Georgia Southern tied at 6 while you watch tonight's game on CSS. You can also follow it on Twitter at Matt_StewartCSS. You can follow our network at CSS Sports for updates on programming, and you can be our friend on Facebook as well. Tony Barbee, he was pleased with the effort that they got in Hawaii. Was not necessarily pleased with some of the leadership. He said those core players that you need to really have total focus on the task at hand. He felt like it was more of a holiday than a business trip for some of them. Some of them were concerned about boogie boards than they were about basketball. So in that regard, not at all pleased with what happened out.
And one guy that fit into that category was the guy that just scored a fine teardrop basket, Chris Denson. He's a guy that needs to score the ball for the Tigers. He's good on penetrating moves. He's also good at catch and shoot. He needs to get a little bit stronger. Watch the move here. You're going to see a little floater. That's a very difficult shot to shoot.
Denson's a sophomore out of nearby Columbus, Georgia, who has really had a fine sophomore season after not much of a freshman year. Had trouble getting on the court a year ago, but finally got into the good graces of Tony Barbee by stepping up his defensive effort. Denson averaging right at 10 points a game. And again, the Auburn press here, Coach, gives Georgia Southern trouble, and they have to burn a timeout.
Auburn's press has given a lot of teams trouble this year because, hey, they're working as one. They trust one another, and I think that was a little bit of a problem for them earlier. And now I think there's full trust in the coaching staff and in one another. And when they can cut down on certain things that they need to do, this press is going to help them. It scores baskets for them.
You know, stats to look for in tonight's ball game, turnovers, and I know you hear that a lot. Sometimes they're meaningful, sometimes they are not. I think in this ball game, you should take a look at Bainham, who caught an elbow right underneath his eye and had to go to the bench.
He's a guy they got to have. He's the one guy with some strength and size inside that can go to the boards and get you a defensive rebound, and also can be a defensive presence in there.
The turnovers, I think, are going to be a big issue here in this ball game.
Already are.
Georgia Southern, their amount, and Auburn too, because Auburn built that big lead against this team a year ago and then got sloppy with the ball themselves and let Georgia Southern get right back into it. So.
Yeah, and I think Willie Powers is becoming a better ball handler and gets them into their offense a little better. When they get to league play, you'll see right there. He sees the floor, he knows the offense, and he's running it better, and he's a strong point guard.
Averages 5 assists per game, which is third best in the Southern Conference. That's a nice little drop-in pass there for Eric Ferguson, who has 4.
Auburn not into the flow of their offense. They don't have the timing down right now.
Forbes got fouled on the play. That's going to be the third team foul on Georgia Southern.
Matt, Adrian Forbes is a guy that needs to stay on the floor. Give them some positive minutes. He usually gets in foul trouble right after he gets in. He's a little bit too physical, but when he can give them big minutes and let Chubb rest, Chubb becomes a better basketball player.
Ward, nobody guarded him on the inbounds, and he gets up close and puts it in.
They need big minutes out of Ward, and they need baskets out of Ward. This is a screen play coming up.
There's the screen from Baskerville. Hewitt didn't get it back to him, though. Left-handed shot. Nice shot by Drayton. It's an auspicious shot he's got there, but it goes in, doesn't it?
That's the toughest shot in the game, is that floater, and he's got it mastered down. He can score the ball. He really can.
Denson.
So that's what he's improved in his game, is the catch and shoot.
Baskerville down on the deck to get it. Gets to Powers. We have a 2-on-2. We have a 3-on-2. Ferguson was sneaking up from behind. Then just got a shot blocked by Gabriel. Jump ball. It'll be Georgia Southern's ball.
This is a big difference in last year's Auburn basketball team and this year's. They are a threat to block your shot. You take it in there, not only are they blocking shots, they're also altering shots. You'll see right here, they get 3 guys going for a block.
That was a situation right there. Had Ferguson not put the ball on the floor, he might have been able to get back up without Gabriel blocking his shot.
Yeah, they want him to be more aggressive like he is right there.
How about off the inbounds, though?
Well, that came off the scouting report. They said today in their shoot-around that they thought they could score on that play. That guy can score on anybody on that play. He's got great leaping ability.
Ferguson has 6, and Drayton has 6. Georgia Southern has a 2-point lead. Denson Looking for a seam in the defense, and Chubb is there to tip it in. Didn't box out Rob Chubb.
Dennison made that play by getting a drive into the lane and drawing a defender, and that left Chubb wide open to tip it in.
Ball nearly stolen by Wallace on the press.
Wallace is an improved basketball player because he's physically stronger. The weight room has certainly helped him.
Powers in the lane. Nice fadeaway from Willie Powers.
That's another scouting report thing. They said if they could get the mismatch, the little guy guarding Powers, who's a big point guard, take him one-on-one, and that's what he did.
Powers is the 31st all-time scorer in Georgia Southern history. Chubb, and that's going to be a blocking foul on Jelani Hewitt. And he might have been shaken up on the player, just slow to get up. Well, standing in and taking the punishment. That's exactly what C.Y. Young was talking about with his players today. He was challenging their physicality, their manhood. Basically, he said, are you going to be man enough to stand in here and take the punishment from Auburn, because they're going to run over you? They think, and you know, he was playing the underdog role with his team in the shoot-around and said, look, they're going to just try to run right over you. It's going to be incumbent upon you to stand in there and try to draw the charge.
Exactly, and he was pushing the respect factor.
Yep.
They don't have any respect for you, and that's a good thing, because you got a lot of times, especially in these early season games, these holiday type games where a team will take a night off when they don't think you can really put it on, put it out there, and that's what he was pushing. And they proved it last year, being up 29 in the game at one time.
Of course, C.Y. Young's been on both sides of the fence. He started at Georgia Southern, so he's played for a mid-major. He's coached at a major, at Auburn and at Georgia Tech as assistant coaches.
The defense is excellent right now by the Tigers. They want Chris Dennison, who's guarding the ball right now, to be more physical, and Dennison's getting that way.
Jump shot off the mark by Trey Bussey.
He's a guy they think is going to be a scorer for him. He can knock down the three ball now.
Yeah, he's the 5th most accurate three-point shooter in the Southern Conference. There's the alley-oop for Ferguson. How about that?
How about that play? That shows you the leaping ability of young Eric Ferguson, a guy wanted to go to Georgia Southern.
Let me tell you, Eric Ferguson could play at any major program in this country.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. There's a lot to be said for the coach having played with his father,
right,
wanting to go to Georgia Southern. That's the kind of guy that Charlton Young needs to get, and that's the kind he's getting. High school players now, not many transfers, and he's going to get this program turned.
Well, Charlton Young had the in with Eric Ferguson. Ferguson's father was his roommate at Georgia Southern. He is Ferguson's godson. In fact, he says the first diaper I ever changed was Eric Ferguson's. And he says, now we'll go at it like father-son. And he says, I never want to coach my own son because of this, but he loves the relationship he has with Eric Ferguson. But it's a different type of relationship than maybe it is with some of the other players on this team because of the family tie.
Yeah, they're harping on him to be better as a free throw shooter because they know he's going to go to the line a lot, and he knocked down his first one tonight. Playing a little zone now.
Chubb, long hook shot. Perez Ward. Offensive rebound for Perez Ward, and the putback. Auburn down 2 here. Actually has now tied it with that basket.
Second chance opportunity is going to be big here tonight because this is an undersized basketball team from Georgia Southern. Ben Drayton can go out and play the point as well as play on the wing.
Yeah, they've got 2 point guards on this team with Powers and Drayton. Both of them very adept at handling the ball, very good with the ball. Both of them top 10 assist to turnover ratios in the conference. Ferguson gets the rebound. And the ball lost out of bounds by Eric Ferguson.
Made a super rebound. Tried to get under control and couldn't do it. The young man has shown a lot of ability here, man.
11 minutes and 20 seconds to play in the first half. Eric Ferguson already putting on a little bit of a show here. Georgia Southern Auburn tied at 17. Conference USA basketball coming up on New Year's Eve here on CSS. Tune in tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern as the Memphis Tigers play host to Charlotte. Tomorrow night, New Year's Eve here on CSS.
Memphis team struggling a little bit. I don't think they will when they get to conference play. What do you think?
Well, coming off a victory over Robert Morris last night here on CSS. You saw Tony Barbie. He, of course, was a longtime assistant coach to John Calipari there at Memphis, and he has done a very good job of recruiting Memphis in his past stops at UTEP and, of course, with the Tigers when he was an assistant coach.
I think both teams that we're watching here right now, Matt, have got to show that they can beat a press, that they can handle a press, that they can get their team into an offensive situation or score the ball.
Denson lost the dribble. Another turnover on the Auburn Tigers. That's number 4 on them.
That's just what we talked about right there. It's good to try. It's good to attack the rim, but you got to do it under control. Josh Wallace is getting so much better at putting pressure on the basketball in pressing situations. They're locking down. When a guy picks up the basketball on the other team, the Tigers are really locking down on defense, and that's a good thing. And they're much better at that, and they've worked extremely hard on that.
Four on the shot clock. Bussey knocks down the 3.
You know, when a guy's good at things like Bussey is, they need to get him more shots. I notice how well he knocks the ball down, but he needs to get more shots. Of course, you got to get more time in the lineup to do that.
He's 12 for 25 on his three-point shots this year, Coach.
Yeah, I'm not talking. I want to get him more shots. He can score.
I think he would agree with you, Coach. He wants you to get him more shots. Coach, go get him some more shots.
We got to get the ball down the floor first.
Powers gets fouled on the drive.
Well, Powers has got a mismatch. He needs to go one-on-one. He's much taller, much stronger than the defender guarding him right now, which is Josh Wallace.
Got that senior body at 6'2", 200 pounds, a solid point guard.
Good free throw shooter.
76% at the line, and now the Eagles have a 4-point lead. So far, Coach Sonny Smith, it has been a much different first half for the Eagles this year than last.
Well, I tell you, this ball club, with 4 perimeter guys that can score and a guy that can score the ball as well as Ferguson, if they can stay out of foul trouble and they can get some baskets and some defense off the bench, I think by the time they get to conference play, this is a team that may challenge.
Well,
they're already got 2, right?
Yeah, they're already 2-0 in the Southern Conference. They have already picked up a couple of wins in conference play in the month of December, winning at home against Chattanooga and Appalachian State. Alley-oop for Chubb over his head, and Langford couldn't save it.
If you look at the game right now as it stands, the one thing that'll jump out at you by both ball clubs, and maybe not the number, but turnovers. Both teams are turning over at a pace that shouldn't be happening. Good high ball screen.
This time they've got the long Langford out there on Bussey to try to cut down on that 3-point shot, and he got into the passing lane and intercepted the pass. Langford lays it in.
Much stronger than a year ago. A guy that's going to be a better player. Last year did not have a good year as a freshman, but has been injured and been suspended. He can do some things.
And spent the first 6 games of this season on suspension, but getting him back into the lineup has paid nearly instant dividends for Auburn, and he's a really strong defensive presence, as you just saw out on the wing, because he can guard 1, 2, or 3 point guard, shooting guard, or small forward at that position.
And another thing he can do is he can take the ball inside and score some baskets.
Pass intercepted. Tyrone Brown jumped in front of that one.
Well, you got to blame Chubb on it. He tried to get into the move before the ball got there. So that is a turnover on Rob Chubb.
Jesse Purnell, who just checked into the ball game, misses his first shot.
A little bit of a quick shot, especially for a guy just off the bench. You don't want to be putting it up quite that quick.
Well, you've got Ferguson, you got Drayton on the floor. You got Bussey on the floor. He's probably behind all three of those guys as far as guys you want taking shots.
When you're going to take a shot?
Exactly.
Your shot comes tomorrow.
Yeah, after those guys get their look.
Tomorrow.
If those guys don't have a look, then maybe you can shoot.
You know, another thing is jumping out at me here, Matt. Not only the turnover, it's one and done by both ball clubs right now, except for the one Kenny Gabriel stuff and a tip-in.
This is a Georgia Southern team. Forget about the record, but really, I believe, after talking to C.Y. Young, on the cusp of really kind of breaking through and being like the Georgia Southern team that Young played for with Frank Kearns, a team that, quite frankly, in the 80s was a powerful mid-major team before anybody knew what a mid-major was.
Absolutely. Frank Kearns, a great basketball coach, one of the very best. If you ever talk to him, he just rolls off his tongue basketball knowledge. And I'm going to tell you,
he's sitting 5 feet from us right now doing the radio for Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I hope we get a chance to see Frank, because that's a deserving guy as a coach, man.
Ferguson out there running things, gets it to Drayton.
Still one and done. They got a big basket out of Tyrone Brown, a guy they expect big things from a very small school down in Georgia.
Wow. I love that left-handed shot by Drayton. Yeah. Now, how are you going to stop that thing?
I believe you have fallen in love with that shot. You have talked about that shot a number of times, and he has made that shot a number of times.
Well, you don't see anybody. Good. You don't see people take that shot.
Well, the reason, Matt, it's the toughest shot in the game to learn. You're judging distance. Oh, we've got a steal.
Purnell lays it in.
Maybe he deserves to get an early shot. Jesse Purnell, he deserves an early shot after that steal.
11-2 run for the Eagles here over the last 4.5 minutes. They have opened up a 9-point lead on Auburn.
What an enthusiastic bench over there at Georgia Southern. Charles Young is a great cheerleader as well as an excellent coach.
I'll tell you what, if you were at the shoot-around today after listening to him fire up his team, you'd want to go and tear up some lockers or something.
I totally agree. That was a big thing right there. When Perez Ward can get things going, he certainly helps that basketball team. He's made some bad decisions. He's been hurt. He plays hurt, but he can score the ball.
Bussey. He throws it in with the right hand.
Ben Drayton has taught some people a good move. You want to talk about that move again, Matt? Everybody's doing it. It must be good.
Left hand, right hand.
I said it's the hardest shot in the game, and everybody's doing it, right?
Auburn can't even run a possession here without a turnover right now. 9-point lead for the Georgia Southern Eagles. The steal by Purnell and the layup. And the Eagles with the early big lead. Nine-point lead for Georgia Southern with 5.5 minutes to play here in the first half. Eric Ferguson and Ben Drayton have combined for 17 of the Eagles' 30 points, and they're on a 13-4 run, Coach.
And you think about this. They're shooting 72% from the field. Had they not turned the ball over, what might they be shooting right now? They got to quit turning the basketball over and keep plugging away on defense the way that they are. And the Tigers have got to get focused. They're just not focusing into this game the way they normally are.
Well, that had to be a concern for you. And C.Y. Young said he was hoping that they might be a little punch drunk, his words there, coming off that Hawaii trip. They didn't get back from Hawaii until December 27th.
Yeah, well, you brought that up right off. Is that a fatigue factor? It certainly is a fatigue factor.
Well, I don't know so much physical.
Well, I think it's physical and mental.
Yeah, I think as much mental maybe as physical.
Oh, probably more. Yeah, you're exactly right, because they have gotten some rest.
Well, you didn't get a Christmas break like everybody else. You were playing basketball on Christmas. Ferguson beats the shot clock with the long three.
Looked like a bad shot by Eric, but he was doing that to beat the shot clock as he gets a steal, and he's going to flush it.
Wow! And a foul on the play.
I'll tell you what, that young man, they want him to become a better defender. He just did.
The steal and the dunk.
Take a look. Take a look at the steal. He's got length, he's got strength, he's got quickness, he runs the floor extremely hard. Right here's an area, we shouldn't be talking about this because you kind of jinx him. Right here's an area, if he gets better, he might be one of the better players, or he could be the best player in the Southern Conference. He knocks that one down also.
A three-point play and a 12-point lead. Ferguson has 12, his 9th double-figure scoring game of the season.
Auburn needs to get some rhythm in their offense. They're facing a 2-3 zone, which is a little bit of a matchup.
Gabriel, rim out, Hewitt the rebound.
I like what Auburn did. They put Gabriel in the middle of that zone, the soft spot of the zone, and he's a guy that can make things happen because he's an excellent passer, even though he hadn't shown it tonight.
Back to Ferguson, and that's going to be an offensive foul on Eric Ferguson.
This is one of the areas of concern on Ferguson. He's a foul trouble. He leads the team in personal fouls, and a lot of times they're foolish fouls. He needs to eliminate from his game the foolish fouls. He'll become a much better player.
Well, you can tell right now his talents are immense and obvious. One of the problems, if you want to call it that, one of the issues is that, he's always been the best player wherever he's been. There's a nice no-look pass, and they blew the bunny. Sullivan had a layup and blew it. And
committed a foul right along with it. And that's, we think about this. Frankie Sullivan, one of the best players in the Southeastern Conference. He took the ball a little deep. That allowed the defender to get in, but it's just a plain miss by Frankie. That's something he does not have a field goal, does not have but one attempt, and
now has 3 fouls.
Now has 3 fouls, and that is not good because he's a guy that they've got to have.
Gets him on the bench, and Baskerville will be at the foul line for the 1-and-1.
Now here's a situation where the Tigers will get tested. Somebody has got to step up.
And Hewitt out-hustles Gabriel for the rebound.
Now that's those lapses that they talk about with Kenny Gabriel. He is an outstanding talent that sometimes takes a play off. You cannot take plays off and win basketball games.
Powers whips it out to Purnell for 3. Rebound Hewitt.
Well, they're getting second shots now. Nobody was getting second shots early, and now the Eagles are getting second shots, getting to set that offense up and run again.
Georgia Southern has all the momentum right now in a 12-point lead with under 4 minutes to play here in the first half.
There's a beautiful pass inside by Hewitt.
Baskerville. Wow, how about this? A 14-point lead for the Eagles here on the Auburn Tigers home floor. A year ago, they were down 29 in the first half.
They've been wanting more out of Baskerville, young man from Marietta, Georgia, and he showed some inside presence right there. They really need that so Eric Ferguson can roam around and get shots all over the floor.
Chubb inside, shot blocked from behind, but I believe Baskerville fouled him, or Dunnigan.
Dunnigan did, and that is a great example of not playing defense the way you're supposed to. They played behind him, and he had low post presence.
3:17 to play in the opening half, and Georgia Southern taking it to the Auburn Tigers. 3:17 to play in the opening half. Georgia Southern leading Auburn 35-21. C.Y. Young's team taking it to the Auburn Tigers.
Well, Matt, we mentioned one thing, depth. Auburn has more depth. But right now, the Auburn basketball team is not scoring points off the bench. Somebody's got to pick up coming off that bench and give them a lift now that Frankie Sullivan's in serious foul trouble.
Eagles on an 18-4 run as Chubb steps up to the line. Chubb has been the Tigers' leading scorer so far tonight with 7.
He's also been a very good free throw shooter of late, and that's something that they want him to be because he's going to get fouled down in there quite a bit. Right here's where the Tigers can make hay, because when they're hitting on all cylinders, they're a good pressing defensive basketball team.
Press comes again, but so far Georgia Southern has done a fairly good job of handling this.
Now they're in a one-for-one, one-and-done press then. They didn't try to get the steal out of the trap. Auburn doing a good job of denying the ball on the wings, and they cannot get the ball entered, and that's a good defensive setup for them.
Less than 10 on the shot clock now. Drayton on the drive with the left hand, and the rebound controlled by Langford.
Langford's got to give them some stuff off that bench.
Chubb lays it in on the feed by Denson.
That ought to energize the team and the crowd. Willie Powers waves everybody out of the way to bring it up. They're going to double team every time he does that. We're looking at a screen on the wing player right now, and a good job of stepping in by Rob Chubb, but he draws a foul on it. Got in there late, drew a foul.
Chubb will be whistled for his first foul.
It takes the high ball and the wing screens out of play when you can step in and force a guy to go diagonally towards midcourt, and that's what you're supposed to do. But if you get in there late, it's going to be a foul almost every time. And you just saw a great example of that with Rob Chubb.
Powers at the line. Earlier this season became the 38th player in Georgia Southern history to score 1,000 career points. Came into tonight's game 31st on the all-time Georgia Southern scoring list at 1,109.
Here's a guy that's been redshirted. It would be a lot better because he did have an injury. I think it was a knee injury that hurt him for a long time.
Well, the Eagles have played a tough schedule so far this season. C.Y. Young says, hopefully they built up some calluses, and that this difficult schedule is going to help them when they get into the full bulk of their conference schedule. As we pointed out, they've already played 2 conference games, but of course league schedules will really kick in earnest coming up here in the next week. Denson on the drive draws a foul, and Denson will be going to the line.
This is a team, the Eagles, they're a team that's been drawing a lot of charges. And along with that drawing charges comes a bang-bang type play that can go either way. So they stay in foul trouble a little bit more than they need to. And he thinks his depth's pretty good, but I don't think it's good enough to stay in foul trouble all the time.
Denson is a 70% free throw shooter. Auburn has climbed back to within 11. Bainham, who got hit, and he's got a big bandage under his left eye right now. As he checks back into the ballgame, got hit with an elbow right underneath that eye. So he's looking kind of like a heavyweight fighter who's been through a couple of rounds already.
He's badly needed to give him an inside presence, offensively especially, so that Eric Ferguson can roam and do his thing, because he's got a lot of offense in his thing. The defensive pressure for the Tigers is getting better.
Hewitt launching a 3 and nailing it.
Doing what he does best. 6 threes versus Chattanooga, 5 against Wake. That guy can score the 3 ball.
Ward back the other way, answers with a 3 of his own.
Ward having a good game tonight. 2 floaters, a rebound basket, knocks down a big three-point shot. That guy is doing much better, feeling better. Maybe the injury is going away a little bit.
Yeah, Ward has 9 here tonight. It gets Auburn to within 10 in what has been, generally speaking, Coach Sonny Smith, it has been a disastrous first half for Auburn.
Well, they definitely they weren't focused. They started out turning the ball over. Then when they turned the ball, when they made the Eagles turn it over, they didn't get anything out of it. All right, here you can see the outside shot of Perez Ward. It used to be very, very good. The injuries has taken some of that. Rust has taken, having not played in a long, has taken away some of that. But he's starting to feel it right now, and at a time that was really needed.
Coming off an 18-point performance against UTEP in their last ball game and has 9 already here tonight. The tough thing about his injury is that speed and quickness is such a big part of his game.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been able to kind of mask that a little bit because he's such a smart basketball player. But ultimately, when you take away that speed because his quad injury has not fully healed,
right. Yeah, and
it limits what he's able to do and how effective he can do it.
He has some growing issues with that, and that takes away your lateral movement right there. The ball movement is slowed down here by the defense getting better.
Powers misses the 3. Chubb clears it to Denson, and a run out here for the Tigers. Denson goes by Powers and draws the foul.
Denson is attacking the rim. He got Chubb a basket early in the game by attacking the rim. He's now attacking the rim and going to the free throw line. They need that to get them going.
Coach, that's been the big change in his game this season. He started out first 5 games. He had only 13 free throw attempts. Last 6 games, he's had 27 free throw attempts.
Yes, and he's always been a guy that looked to attack the rim, but he wasn't strong enough. And he became a better catch and shoot player to make him better, and he earned a starting spot because of it. Now he's got the combination of the outside catch and shoot 3, the penetration and get something or drop it off to somebody else for something. He's a much better player. Needs to be stronger, and he needs to work on that.
Inside the final minute of this first half as Tyrone Brown goes to the bench. Actually, Tyrone Brown checks into the ball game. Pardon me.
Young man with a lot of potential, a lot of great things. Played at one of the smallest schools in Georgia, and they expect him to develop, and he certainly looked that to me on the first shot that he took tonight. Got it inside single digits, and that is something that they needed to do before halftime, the Tigers. The Eagles going to play for 1.
And the Eagles going to try to push it over back into double digits here and play for the final shot.
Now, if a team is playing a zone, you got to start quicker. If they're playing man, you can take a little more time, start around 9. They're playing zone, so you need to get into your offense a little quicker. You're going to run the clock out.
And a timeout called? Nope.
No, he stepped on the
sideline. So they blow their opportunity, and with 6.8 seconds left, now the Tigers get the ball back.
A lot of times teams don't recognize the difference between that last second shot versus zone and man. You got to start quicker against the zone.
Stolen away, and Hewitt will get a shot at the buzzer.
That ball was stolen away because Chris Denson did not make the hard cut off of the dribble handoff.
Into the first half at the Auburn Arena. Pleasant first half for C.Y. Young and his Georgia Southern Eagles as they head to the locker room with a 39-30 lead on the Auburn Tigers. Coming back to take a look at SEC News and Notes when we get back.
Welcome back. It is halftime at the Auburn Arena. SEC basketball presented by Regions Bank. Matt Stewart joined by legendary coach Sonny Smith. And Sonny, let's take a look at SEC news and notes for the week. And we start with 3 teams ranked in the coaches' top 25, with Kentucky at number 3, Florida at number 10, despite being upset just the other day by Rutgers. That's likely to change. And Mississippi State nearly beat undefeated Baylor this week.
I think 3 things that jump out at me about that. All 3 teams have better depth than they had a year ago. That's number 1. They may be youth involved there, but they have depth. And because of that, they're much better teams and are going to get better as the season goes on.
Arnett Moultrie, who played for Tony Barbie at UTEP, has been the surprise player in the SEC, now playing for Mississippi State. He has 7 double-doubles to lead the conference.
Well, he made Mississippi State a threat every night out, because he's not only does he run the floor, he rebounds extremely well. He's a shot blocker. He defends. He works extremely hard, and they're better because of Moultrie.
The SEC has claimed 4 tournament titles this season. Alabama winning the Puerto Rico Tip-Off Classic. Kentucky won the Basketball Hall of Fame Classic. Mississippi State, the 2K Sports Classic, and Vandy, the Legends Classic.
Those are the teams that are going to be battling for that top spot along with Florida before it's all over. And they're starting to show it. Or Vandy off to a slow start, but they're beginning to come around now.
And there are 7 SEC players on the John Wooden preseason top 50 list. Festus Ezeli, John Jenkins, Jeffrey Taylor, D. Boss, JaMychal Green, Patrick Young, the fine sophomore for Florida, and Terrence Jones, who was the preseason player of the year out of Kentucky.
The big surprise to me is JaMychal Green being, he is being injured, but that guy could be the best player in the league before it's over. And Terrence Jones being injured, and he could be the best before it's over. 2 guys that are best are now injured.
Let's take a look at the SEC honors winners for the week, starting with the player of the week. Ralston Turner for LSU had big games in the Tigers win over number 10 Marquette and North Texas, and we'll see LSU here on CSS Monday night when they play 24th ranked Virginia.
Ralston is a guy that's been injured a lot, and when he is healthy, he is an outstanding basketball player from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. I expect a big year out of Ralston Turner.
And Bradley Beal from the University of Florida, 3rd time he's won Freshman of the Week honors, averaged 17 in their victories over Mississippi Valley and Florida State.
He can play anywhere on the court. He can rebound with the big guys. He can step out and make the 3. He's an outstanding defender, runs the court. I love that kid.
Full slate of Southeastern Conference basketball here on CSS coming up in the next couple of weeks. It continues on January 2nd. I'll be in Baton Rouge for the LSU Tigers taking on the Virginia Cavaliers. That's a tough non-conference matchup for Trent Johnson's team as they take on Tony Bennett's Virginia Cavalier Ball Club, playing very well. January 7th, we kick off, or tip off, we should say, conference action, Mississippi and Arkansas. Then on January 11th, we've got the rematch game just 2 days after LSU and Alabama meet for the BCS National Championship. They meet at the Coleman Coliseum. January 14th, Florida will be at South Carolina. And then on January 18th, the big rivalry game, Sonny, as Mississippi State plays Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is a much better basketball team this year. They're deeper, and they're going to hurt some people.
It's halftime here at the Auburn Arena. SEC basketball presented by Regions Bank continues after this timeout.
Fans, let's hear it for all tonight's contestants.
Our contestants tonight are Emily representing X and Slay representing O. When I say go, you must first make a layup and then place a letter. For every shot made, another letter can be placed. The contestant that gets tic-tac-toe first will be our winner. Are the contestants ready? On your mark, get set, go! Congratulations, Slay, representing the O.
It is halftime here at the Auburn Arena. Georgia Southern leading Auburn by a score of 39-30. Matt Stewart joined by Sonny Smith. And Sonny, I know we still have another half to go here, but this would be a huge win for Georgia Southern if they could pull off the upset here, especially for C.Y. Young as he's trying to rebuild this Eagles program.
He really is. With an undersized basketball team with 4 guys that can score the ball, he's got to cut down on his turnovers. He's got to do a little bit better job of rebounding, and they're doing a very good job offensively shooting the ball.
Let's take a look at the SEC scoreboard tonight. 3 other games in action. In fact, the Georgia game already a final as Dustin Ware scored 15 points, and Georgia ran their winning streak to 5 games, improving to 9-5 with a 58-51 win over Delaware State.
They're starting to gel as a basketball team. Earlier, I thought they were going to have problems. They're now getting a little bit of an inside presence to go with a good wing play, and Pope is an outstanding player.
Ole Miss on the road at a very tough place to play. Of course, Dayton has already beaten Alabama at home this year. They're now beating Ole Miss at halftime, 28-23. Rebels shooting only 39% in the first half in that game.
Well, the Rebels, on the nights that they control the boards and the night they play solid defense, they got good depth. They're a threat to win, even on the road, and that's where they've had some problems.
Texas Southern at Arkansas.